We'll do it live. I think that's live. I hope that's live. I'm going to click the button anyway, and it will get there. Oh, that sounds like it.
Welcome to your awakening. Please take all as your reality is adjusted.
Welcome back once again, folks. Hey, all you good people. Hello in the chat. I've just flicked to the chat page. Type hello in there. So a minute or two late. As commonly we are, I'm saying we because, you know, it's not just me here, but I was the one hovering over the start button. But I had to run and get myself a fresh coffee before we started. So, yeah, running a tiny bit late. Par for the course as it is for this show, for these broadcasts. It's not always dead on the 8 p.m. GMT on the hour. Yeah, sometimes a little bit late, but hello to everyone in the chat room. Welcome, well met, greetings, salutations, hail fellow, and well met. Hello everyone in the chat. High Plains Drifter, hello. And Andrew Nakamoto, hello. CMB, hello. Patrick Nee, hello. P Murph, hello mate. Hope you had a good new year. Hope everybody had a good new year. Getting better, hopefully. Quantum Epic, hello. And Sidefish, and the Rebel, and Genuinely Concerned, greetings from the edge of the apocalypse, hello. Yeah, it is definitely. Lotsome Tatro, hello. And Ridiculizer, hello. Hopefully play one of your songs in a bit, right? Jam Noise, hello. Thanks for joining in the chat. And Brad, Brad, numbers, Brad. So I'm not going to read out all the numbers. Hello. Thanks for joining in the chat. I sing the news. I sing the news. I sing the news. Hello. So safe. Hello. Losing my voice already. Dotty. Hello. Thanks for joining us. And Dinny Carr. Hello. Sorry if I miss anyone out. I'm trying to scroll quickly. I know there's probably quite a few people in the chat, so I'm trying to rush through it, but not miss anyone out. Tazzy Media, hello. I think Duncan Conzio, if I can get my words out, hello. And Leslie Spence, hello. Pasternification. I'm struggling with words already. I'll get my words out. Krishna, hello. And Kanao, hello. And the chat's now jumped ahead slightly. Born Again for Christ, hello. Wayne Morris, hello. Right, okay, yeah, I think I've got it back to where it was. New Being, hello. Hope you're okay over in the Europe land, in that big super state of Europa. 9 Ether, hello. Right, hopefully, I think I'll leave it there. Majok, sorry, hello, I just saw you at the top of the chat box. I'll leave it there, otherwise we will go on all night just shouting hello to everyone. Earache, yeah, sneaking in just at the last minute. Yeah, otherwise we'll spend all night just saying hello to everyone. That's why I've got the terrible habit of not saying hello or evening. Like I've got a habit of saying evenings in the chat room. I don't say them to anyone in particular. I just say them to the whole room, because sometimes, especially when there's a good gathering together, you can spend the entire hour or 2 hours just saying hello to everyone as they're coming and going. So yes, greetings everyone. Welcome back once again. Another edition of this Soul Excalibre on this moon day evening. The 4th of the 1st, 2021. It's not exactly well, you can't exactly call it a palindrome, can you? It's just the way the numbers combine. It's a 4, so a 5 and a 5. 4 plus 1, 2 plus 2 plus 1. A 5 and a 5 is a 10. It just seemed a bit... I've had this happen a few times with these shows. Some of the episodes and the numerical value of whichever episode it is in the series seems to have landed on synchromistic dates. And I say synchromistic deliberately. It's not just synchronicity. It certainly isn't just coincidence. There just seems to be these connections that keep happening. Now we're into the new year, the new Gregorian calendar. I hope you've all got your new calendar up on the wall, which I'm sure most of you probably haven't, because that's such an old-fashioned thing to do. But yeah, the numerical date has ticked over again. So now we're in a new year. Welcome to the new count of days. And I just thought it was interesting that 10, which is obviously a combination number on the date. And this is the first episode of this year. And the 14th episode of season 4. It's a lot of 4s which connect with the 20, which connects with that base 20 calculation system or counting system which the Mayans used and other peoples and other cult groups have used to monitor the movement of the solar system. So it always sort of stands out a little bit more whenever there's that connection to the base 20 going on. Significant dates for significant time in the history of this thing we call the world, and that's WOORLD rather than WHIRLED, world. Yeah, being spun constantly every day. And it's somewhat on that point of spinning and talking about how things are spun and how people are misdirected after they've been spun on the spot with a blindfold on. You know, like old children's game, they put the blindfold on you and spin you on the spot, and then you've got to try and find someone or pin the tail on the donkey or whatever activity after you've been spun round. But it's the spinning round that is the thing. There is a particular image I want to pull up just for now. Thanks to Big T for putting this one together. It's sort of, well, for me, it says a lot in this current climate of how everything is going on. And it's a better version of something I did myself a while ago, where I'd use the paint thing on the program to just write license over the word there. But T has done a much better job of actually reworded it. Vaccine Mac Fry. And you got two of the main usual suspects sort of lurking around on the outside of the gates. If you don't know, this is a photograph of the gates of Auschwitz. And I'm sure there's many people that have lots of questions and counter arguments about that whole narrative from history that we're all supposed to just accept and believe. But it's more about the context of the message, the information contained within the message, rather than the messengers. And I mean, these usual suspects are relevant to this current time, you know, what's going on contemporarily, what's going on at the moment. But in terms of the message from history, for the majority of us, we only know it from history books. And those history books are written and given to us by a structure of authority of the sanctioned academic world, sanctioned by the authority that is allegedly above them, the state system, etc. But we were just given information, a message, by a messenger, the teachers or tutors, however you received your education in the way your state system works or whatever, unless of course you were homeschooled. You might have got a different body of information put before you if you were homeschooled. But for those of us who went through the standard education system, even if you went to a private school, you're going to have been presented with a body of information, a body of knowledge that has been sanctioned and approved by the state system and therefore is the equivalent of being given instruction by a priesthood. Scientists, teachers, experts occupy a similar archetypal role as the priesthood in terms of a religion. But in this reference, in this analogy, we're talking about information to do with how the world works, what is the history of the world, and how that affects your perception of your reality. Your world is your little bubble of perception, and that perception is being fed by these faces, these figures that are supposed to represent some kind of authority. He's supposed to be an expert. He's supposed to be an expert and a scientist and a doctor and all this stuff. He's just a nerd. That in and of itself is a label, but we were given information by messengers. And in the standard educational system, as I say, whether you go to public or private school, you get the same attitude given to you. The information is meant to be just repeated. That's most of how the education and examination and qualification system works. Can you repeat what you've been shown by the messengers? Some of the subjects you can study allow a obvious amount of lenience in that sense. You're not necessarily expected to just repeat what you've been given. You are supposed to interpret it or to add your own interpretation to it. Most of the time that just results in you just rehashing something that's already been said. You still end up at the same answer, the same result at the end of the equation. It's just that you went a slightly different route to get to that end result, that desired result, what they expect you to write on the examination paper. But you're not allowed to question the messengers. You're not allowed to consider the context of who is it that's actually presenting this information to me. And it's this kind of thing why tonight I thought I want to talk about this element of the message and the messenger. And in the kind of like the subtitle that I usually put in the video description, it says message in a messenger land. Maybe I could apologize for coming up with that convoluted way of saying it, but I've been listening to some Iron Maiden, and re-listening to one of their older ones, Stranger in a Strange Land, and it just made me think about the same kind of effect, but in terms of just information. Rather than the stranger being a physical being, a person, a man, a woman, whatever, a stranger turning up in a strange land. That's what the lyrics are about. But I was thinking about it from the point of view of when you presented information that is unexpected, like a stranger, like somebody you've never seen before, you've never heard of this person before, you don't know them, you don't recognize their face from around your neighborhood, they're a stranger. This is a body of information being presented to you. But in this current climate especially, we're in a fascistic expectation that we should just obey orders without question. And I'm only saying fascistic in that commonly held concept that fascism equals obey or die. You could apply the same kind of tyranny to the opposite end of that political spectrum. And I've talked about that many times, the left-right paradigm, and the hard left is just as bad as the hard right. They're as bad as each other because it's not a bar from left to right, it's a circle. And you go from one side of the circle where you got freedom, and you go to the other side of the circle. You move your way around that circle, you end up in tyranny. And you can go either direction, but you still end up getting to tyranny. If I fit my fingers in the camera, so you see the symbolism I'm making. That circle. The revolution is just a turn 360 degrees. So it doesn't matter which direction you go, you end up in that kind of tyrannical, dictatorial expectation of obey or die, bend the knee or be eradicated, vaccine or no freedom. It's the same equation. It is obedience to a figure of authority, whichever that current figure happens to be. So I thought, yeah, strange in a strange land, message in a messenger land. We are trying to move, I say we, because it's not just me doing this kind of stuff here. There's many people that do this kind of stuff. There's many people that have been doing it for many years. And this is a constant stumbling point for so many people that come to this kind of information that either haven't heard it before, maybe not necessarily heard this kind of point of view or this kind of angle on it, whatever. It's something that is happening a lot more now because of the real world situation as it's progressing. They crack down harder, more people go looking for alternative information or other sources of information. To say it in a kind of cliche, there's the lies get harder to try and perpetuate the original lie. When a liar crafts a lie, they have to keep adding more to keep the original lie sustained, because the original lie counteracts reality. So it's like sustaining an illusion, so they have to keep reinforcing it. So as that has been getting sillier and sillier and sillier, and we're ending up with more blatant bullshit being projected at people via the spokesholes of the media and by people like these supposed experts, then obviously more members of the public start looking for the truth, or even at least start asking questions. So they begin that process of like, well, I've got these questions because the stuff they're showing me is just counteracting my reality. It's gaslighting. I can't believe the shit they're saying to me, so I need to find out real information. That process of looking away from the authority figures means more people are starting to gravitate towards these kind of questionings or pursuing this kind of process of development of their own thinking, of their own spiritual energy, their own direction in life, and on it goes. It's the ever unfolding lotus flower. Once one delusion falls away, once the old petals fall away, then there's the new flower there, and they figure that one out, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It is a process. But anyway, to get back to the point, the message in a messenger land, we are currently, even more so than we have been for maybe 5 or 6 decades since the last time this kind of extreme politicized control started to rise up. We are in a situation where people are being required more and more to just be obedient to figures of authority, not to think for themselves in any way whatsoever, even to the most ridiculous level now where they've been putting out articles and talking points about how people should not do their own research because you're too dumb to figure things out and you don't know how to read a scientific paper. You don't know how to read these statistics, so what makes you think you can ask these questions and figure anything out? No, just shut up and obey what we tell you to. So they move people from utilizing their own energy for themselves of their own free will choices and instead direct them into supporting the inevitable pyramidal structures that grow around figures of authority. And this is a classic problem, and it's certainly a constantly repeated problem when it comes to asking these kind of questions or looking at this kind of information, because people keep tripping over their own indoctrination, which is given to them by the system to serve the system's purpose. Most of the education system in the Western world is based on the Prussian education system, which was purposefully designed to generate soldiers that were just clever enough to know how to look after their gun, but not clever enough to ask questions when they were told to run into a line of cannon fire. It's as simple as that. The whole educational system was designed to create automatons that do not think for themselves and do not have the ability to answer the questions for themselves. They just repeat the answers they were given, the answers they were fed. 2 + 2 =, and they would just reply with whatever choice the state decided 2 + 2 =. So in this environment, that to me is like, in my analogy, that is you are in the land of the messenger, where the messenger is valued more highly than the content of the message itself. That is a really dangerous place to be, because that is just a world of the blind, just following the one guy with the one eyeball or whatever it is, whether he's got a technological version of the same thing. But this is something that during the recent situation over the Christmas and New Year period, I'm sure a lot of you are aware about this, and I'm not intending to keep going on about it. Last week's episode was particular to address the fact that we'd received the news that Jeff C had died, passed on. It's still, the situation is still ongoing in terms of trying to find more confirmation, or trying to resolve some of the questions that many people have. But as I say, it's not my intention to do yet another show that's all about that situation. There's, a lot of that is still ongoing. And there's a lot of people out there who've still got a lot of questions, of course, because that's the way these things go. When there's a vacuum of information, people have a lot of questions, and often that vacuum gets filled up with all the, the speculation in every direction you can imagine. And some of it is obviously not pleasant. Some of it is the worst kind of crap that gets thrown around. And certainly in this environment of the GooTube, absolutely, you get the worst elements come out from the woodwork and start spouting the worst kinds of shit you can think of, because it suits their purpose. To try and sort of summarize it so that I don't go on too long about it. If he has actually died, then it creates kind of like a vacuum effect in the environment, where somebody who was putting out a lot of regular content and content that had a good connection with people, so it was quite influential, he was an influencer, however you want to look at it, whether you think he was good or bad at what he was saying, he was a strong influencer of a lot of people. So that vacuum of that happening means that people see an opportunity to come in and smash up whatever was left. Or on the counter side of that, there's a lot of us who are more considerate about preserving what was left and preserving his memory, honouring his memory and his work. So you've got this situation with a vacuum of information, some of the worst elements trying to fill that vacuum up with just the nastiest kind of crap, just to throw shit everywhere, because they're hoping to smash up the congregation of people that used to congregate around him and his work. This is something we've really got to stress, the fact that it is not about creating an icon figure. Jeff himself would have hated that, and I think it's something that we really should not be doing in that kind of fashion. The idiots out there like to project this idea that he was some kind of celebrity truther, and now everybody's upset, or they're fake crying just to get clickbait and earn money on monetized videos and whatever. These are just nasty slander, basically. They're just trying to smash up the people that are remaining. They see it as an opportunity to storm in and pile on to try and create as much destruction in this environment as they can. That's why you're seeing that kind of level of sort of, it's one thing to speculate, it's another thing to ask questions and make inquiries and try and find out what information you can to either get confirmation or, maybe it leads to further questions that go down other routes and whatever. But it's another thing to just outright attack somebody after their death, try to slander them, cast slurs and libelous statements against everybody around him, and so it just gets nasty. And that's something that unfortunately is part of the internet. It's not particular to the truth movement or to conspiracy theorists or to whatever fucking label they try and project at us all. That's part of their divisional tactics, to create divides, set people against each other. Oh, you mean you like Jesse? Or that means I've got to hate you now then? What do you mean you hated him? Oh, that means I've got to love you now. Creating divides and fractures and camps, and it just gets stupid. So, the situation at the moment is there isn't so far any good confirmation or validation of the situation. People are trying to get that, and hopefully it looks like they might have some soon. I know TMF and Press Reset, and mainly TMF has mentioned this, I've heard him mention this, that they might be able to get some confirmation or validation of some kind soon. But other than that, I haven't seen anything that is good confirmation or good validation to back up either side of the story any further than what is already known. And as I talked about last week, this is something else. There's a lot of people, there's a few comments under the mirror video that I uploaded from Please Stop the Ride. And there were a few comments under there which I have replied to with some lengthy questions of my own, just to make the point to these people, because they keep projecting this idea onto everybody else. This is how they process their method of division. They project onto you something of a fault that they then attack. So they say, you are doing this, and then they attack you for doing the thing that they've just accused you of. That's projection. But one of the main things that they've been projecting ever since this news broke is that they've been told to not ask questions, they've been told to not investigate, they've been told to just shut up and receive the message from the messenger. And that is not true, to my knowledge. Nobody involved in putting these kind of videos out has said anything like that. I know Really Graceful has not said that. I know Please Stop the Ride has not said that. I haven't said that. I did not say that last week. I did not tell people to not ask questions and just obey, just receive what you've been given and shut up and get on with it. Nobody said that. But the people that want to create a drama, the people that want to fixate the audience on the personality of Jesse alone, the messenger, are doing that purposefully because it's part of that process of how they begin the character assassination. And it reinforces the exact kind of indoctrination, the entraining that I've just been talking about, in terms of you are expected to just defer to a personality, an authority figure. Jeff stressed this point himself many times. I've stressed this point myself many times over years. He was never meant to be your new authority figure. He did not want you to go from listening to the talking heads on Fox and CNN and CBS and all the media news channels and just transfer your expectation of authority to him. And so you listen to him and now he's your authority. So you're just replacing one externalized authority figure for another. You've not escaped the system. You've just gone from one paddock to another paddock. And he was very aware of this, and he tried to get that point across many times in many different ways. And that, unfortunately, is why we commonly, like I said earlier, this is a tripping point that happens constantly, every day, day after day. You see people falling over the same tripping point again and again and again. They fixate on the messenger rather than looking at the content of the message. So I wanted to just to sort of try and show this in a way that to stress the point a little bit, but also hopefully to maybe realize the point a bit more clearly. If people, have, like I mentioned the other week, not everyone is a audio learner. Sometimes people need something visual to connect with, to get that sort of cue from to begin their own thought process, their own thinking process. So it just made me think of doing this. And it was from conversations I'd had last week with a friend online. And it was, I was trying to think of how to say what I'd been trying to say last week. It's like, how else do I say this to sort of get the point across of like, look at the content of his work. Please don't fixate on just him as a personality. Yeah, none of us are perfect. Those people out there that claim they are or think they are deluded. Not everyone, nobody has all the answers. Anyone that claims they have all the answers, again, is either deluded or lying to you for some reason. But everyone has their fallibilities. Jesse had his faults, and there may have been a lot more about him in his private life that we're not aware of, that, somebody could quite easily point at him and go, see, he was a bad guy. He drank too much, or, he used to swear at seagulls, whatever. They find something about him that they can point at and create a drama out of to try and slander him in some fashion. And when they do the character assassination, I mean, please go and look at the situation around Dr. Vernon Coleman, who has literally a lifetime's work behind him to back up and validate his experience and knowledge and his ideas and opinions on what he's talking about. And yet he's been so character assassinated because he's speaking out against the current medical martial law that we're under. Yeah, character assassination is their go-to technique to try and diffuse or pollute any worthwhile information or influential information that is spreading amongst the public. They don't want us getting together in groups, folks. They want us all split up, all individuated in our own little boxes so that we're no threat to them. Anyway, digressing a little bit, back to this point about the message and the messenger. I'm sure a lot of people, certainly the ones that are regular listeners to my show, they've probably seen all these quotes before, so they know exactly who it is already anyway. But this is just like the quote, the actual content of the quote itself. Believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who has said it, not even if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. Does that, unquote, I should say, sorry, just to end the quote there, yeah? Does that statement carry logical reasoning within it? Is it consistent in its logical reasoning? Yeah, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who has said it, not even if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. Does that statement in and of itself make sense to you and have good, sound, logical reasoning to back up what the content is? Yeah? I think it does, yeah. So which is more important, the content of that message or who said it, which is why I sort of censored out. Yeah? Again, me doing my cheap-ass version of photo editing, it's just like, yeah, get the brush, scrub it out. I've scrubbed out who the quote is from, yeah. I'll grab another one. I'm only going to show a few of these, but it's just to sort of like make the point about this, the part of the main technique that the system relies upon to control the majority of the people, because remember, there's only a few of them, whereas there's literally billions of us. And, please leave aside the potential us and them connotations. You know what I mean, yeah? There's a small cadre of people attempting to influence the rest of the people to do what they would prefer them to do, rather than what the rest of the people actually would choose to do for themselves. Yeah? This quote, when the tyrant has disposed of foreign enemies by conquest or treaty, and there is nothing more to fear from them, then he is always stirring up some war or other in order that the people may require a leader. End quote. Does that make sense to you? This person, whoever it is, with his unfortunately blackface mask on, has he been black-pilled? I don't know, maybe. Black-pilled in the ancient past. Yeah, he's talking about tyrants they can't really stay in power as the tyrant that they are. You know, they can't remain in their position of privilege and authority, or supposed authority, unless people are afraid of something that means they want somebody in that position of power, you know, to give commands to the military and to organize their society to protect it against the other that lives on the other side of the river or in the next valley or whatever it is. Yeah? It makes sense. It makes logical reason sense. It has a value in and of itself, despite who said it. Yeah, the person behind the mask could be Billy Gates himself. Even if that was Billy Gates himself, does the statement itself contain value? Is it logical? Is it reasoned? Yeah, I think so. So what difference does it make if you know who said it? It adds context. Knowing the author of the statement or the source of the message, the source of the information, adds context to the information received. It's like the framing around the picture can make a difference to the picture itself, but the framing itself is not the picture. I'll just show another one. I like this one because I thought it was appropriate as well. Mentioning Jeff, and you know, we had, I know we talked about this the once when we were in conversation on one of his shows. Quote, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. End quote. Sorry, nearly forgot. I thought this one was really appropriate because it's yet again making the same point I am. Are you more fixated on the messenger rather than the message? It's contextual value to note who the messenger is. Certainly, yeah, definitely. And especially if you're receiving multiple messages, because that itself can build up a framework of information. You know, the machine becomes bigger than the sum of its parts. You know, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. But when you want to figure out, when you want to analyze or dismantle or unpack, you know, in modern academic vernacular that they like to use, you know, somewhat meaningless word, let's unpack that statement. But that, you know, when you break the statement down, it's like, well, the content of this bit, does it make sense? Yes. 2 + 2 = 4. There may be a bit of generalized opinion included in this statement because I think you'll find there's probably quite a few great minds around the world that have at some point discussed people. So maybe it's a little bit of generalized opinion involved in the statement, but in and of itself, it still makes sense. Do you need to know who said it? You could always look it up for yourself if you're interested, you know. But it's still that point of the content of the message rather than fixating on the messenger. One more, I promise this is the last one for this particular point anyway, just to sort of finish up on this. The system relies on people being stuck in their indoctrination where they will defer to an authority figure because that structure works best for the system, so it remains in its position, in its status quo, you know. So it serves their purpose to have people in that kind of shape of thinking. I was trying to think of a way of describing they encourage a certain construct of the mind. So like I've described it before as like a gardener trimming a bonsai tree to make the tree grow in a certain shape. You know, they will often bind the branches with wire and things like that to force branches to go a certain direction. They trim the buds and stuff so that the leaves grow in a certain shape. They do the same things with our minds. Yeah, through a lifetime of indoctrination, educational systems, and reinforcement through the media and social infrastructures, they create minds that follow a certain patternation. So they are inclined to automatically defer to an authority figure, because the natural law environment that we all share, that's natural reality that we share, there are structures of hierarchical interaction. They just naturally are. It's part of how the very foundation of the natural world works. Yeah, there are hierarchies of the way nature interacts with itself. Think of the different ecosystems and biospheres. Again, that's even using scientific vernacular, but you know what I mean. Yeah, the lion is the king of the savannah. People often say he's the king of the animals, which I think is a bit, again, it's a generalization. But anyway, yeah, he's the king of the savannah simply because he's the apex predator. That's not a modern concoction of the patriarchy or some shit like that, some intersectional divisional bullshit. No, it's just an observation of the natural world around us. In that environment, in that biosphere, in that ecosystem, the lion is the biggest, hardest predator at the top of that food chain. So that creates a hierarchical structure. There is a hierarchical, almost pyramidical infrastructure of the food chain in that kind of environment. So having hierarchical systems is not unnatural per se, but the biggest trick of these controllers is manipulating reality and the way natural law really does operate and inverting it, or creating angles, I should say, using mirrors to create alternate versions, or misdirected. That's why I was thinking of arrows. Misdirecting your arrow, which is one of the definitions of the word sin. You miss the mark. Your arrow is missing the mark. You are not following the straight path. You're not on the straight and narrow path. You are wandering in sin. You are like the sine wave, which is another part of where that word comes from. Anyway, digressing again. This last one, quote, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to act in the presence of fear." End quote. Yeah. Is there logic and reasoning in that statement? Yeah. Certainly, if you do any amount of introspection, or if you interact with others to refine your own ideas and thought processes about emotions such as fear and courage, and how they relate to your real life experience and the way reality works around you and the way other people interact with each other and you, and etc., etc. If you actually spend some time thinking about these things, yeah, courage is not the absence of fear. To claim, it's one of the reasons why I don't say no fear. I think I said it many years ago, and then I thought about it a bit more, and I thought, actually, no, it's not really logically accurate. It's also unhealthy. Fear is a useful tool to us. It's just that it's a tool that the system has learned to abuse and use to manipulate us. So it would not be logical to say courage is no fear, having no fear of whatever is happening. Yeah, no fear, no fear, no fear. That's not logical. And to say you're courageous by shouting no fear, that is not logical. That's fallacious. Yeah, because courage is not the absence of fear. So the statement itself is logical, it's reasoned, and I find it carries value. Yeah, that little chunk of information, that little log of logos, yeah, that's like a chunk of a logos, that has value for me. That has helped me. I've learned from that little snapshot of somebody else's knowledge base, somebody else's thought processes that they passed on to me via those group of symbols on a page, on a bit of paper that equal a language that we use. Yeah, maybe I was overstressing the point, but yeah, the content of the message, does it have value to you? Are you gaining from it in some fashion? That doesn't mean making financial profit. Yeah, it doesn't mean making money out of something. It means, does it have value for you in your being, in your spiritual self? Have you learned something from it? Have you gained gnosis from it? Then you can add the context of who it was that said it. You know, if people haven't guessed, like I said, I'm sure the usual suspects are in the chat room and listening, they probably know straight away because I've mentioned this one a few times. This is a quote from Bruce Lee. And this is from quite a few decades ago, obviously before his death. Yeah. He didn't speak after the grave. Oh, I'm not afraid. I might be in the grave, but I'm not afraid. Yeah, Bruce Lee. A guy who achieved quite a lot considering his background and the situation he was in. So maybe he was helping others by pointing out to them that if you have the courage, you can actually achieve quite a lot once you get over the fear of something that isn't really stopping you from what you're doing. It's the fear that's stopping you from what you're doing or what you're wanting to do or choosing to do, etc., etc. And that could be linked back to that other quote from the other mystery person from history, who was talking about the tyrant needing to make his own population afraid so that they still need a tyrant because they've been entrained into this fear-based manipulation where when they feel fear, they just automatically defer to an external authority to save them from the perceived threat. Doesn't have to be a real threat. They don't have to actually prove it to themselves. No, they just have to be given this fear. And it's the fear that makes them react like they've been programmed by Skinner, in a Skinner box with these little mice running around. They've been given that fear, and they react in a knee-jerk reaction to defer to an external authority. I think it's worth at this point me chucking in one of the usual caveats that I often add at this kind of point like this when I'm talking about this kind of subject matter. I know it's a reality that there's some people out there that are in need of the help of others. Maybe they're not physically capable, or they're just not capable of doing certain things, which means they have to defer to other people. I'm thinking of people who are severely disabled and things like that. They can't necessarily care for themselves or look after themselves or do a lot of the stuff like we're often talking about. So please don't take what I'm saying too far to the point of an extreme. It's basically a fallacy. You're taking an extreme possibility to try and counteract what I'm saying. It's no. Yes, there are some people that need the help of others. So making this point about deferring to an external authority is not 100% applicable to everyone in every situation. That's black and white thinking. Is the way it would normally be described in a psychological analysis. Don't trip over the black and white thinking and being trapped into extremes, fallacious extremes. If you want to reduce or hopefully outlive or outgrow or evolve away from the current paradigm of extreme authoritarianism, which at the moment in this day and age, in this contemporary time, they're attempting to achieve through a technocratic infrastructure. In other words, they're using the technology to enable them to create that panopticon, the virtualized panopticon prison system, the open air prison system that societies have been rebuilt as. If you don't want that kind of authoritarian super state to be ruling over you, then you need to start removing the sheer amount of energy and obedience you give to the concept of an externalized authority and the infrastructure that inevitably grows around that. Because those people who claim to be those authority figures, they won't ever go the other direction. Common to the tyrant is the habit of, once they've taken power, they will not give it back. They're like a pirate. Take everything and give nothing back. That is their attitude. If they can take away your freedoms from you, they will, and they will never give them back, not unless you grab them out of their hands and, you know, grab them back for yourself. As Murph always used to say in the past, shout out to Murph, you know, take your ball back. They're going to nick it from you if you let them, and give them 30 seconds and they'll turn around and say, it's always been their ball. What are you talking about, mate? It was never yours. That's the kind of gaslighting, mental manipulation that they attempt to do on us all. I'm going to play a tune in a minute. I'm going to play one of Ridiculize's songs, which I thought was highly appropriate when talking about that kind of entrainment of the populace. But I just want to mention a couple of things as well while we're on this. Talking about some of the craziness that is going now. I saw this afternoon Bojo giving his, what can I call it? It's kind of like his preemptive confirmation. Over the last few days here in the UK, we've had some of the politicians, the leader of the opposition party, the Labour Party in particular, coming out and saying, oh, we should be having a national lockdown. What's happening isn't strict enough. The new super mutant version of the virus is spreading far too fast. The only way we're going to deal with it is we have to have a full-on lockdown, a hard national lockdown. Rah! And I obviously haven't done a broadcast since all of this has been developing, but I know, as I've mentioned before in previous weeks, months, the UK government this year has developed a habit where they preemptively tell everybody what they're going to do. And they present it, they frame it as like they're thinking about it, or there's a rumor that they might do this, that, or the other. Or one of the opposition politicians say, excuse me, why aren't you doing this? We think you should do that. You're not a good government unless you do this. And then lo and behold, within a few weeks, or now it's becoming days, they do actually do that thing. So this afternoon, Bojo made a statement that sort of goes along the lines of, oh, this year's going to be tough. We're going to have to start getting tougher. It's going to get tougher, folks. Prepare for it to get tougher. In other words, yeah, pretty soon they're probably going to initiate a full-on national lockdown again. And yeah, the schools in particular, like some just typed in the chat, schools shut till mid-February. So, you know, the situation here is not only continuing, but steadily escalating to the point that they are trying to force everybody back to that first image I showed. Let me just quickly pull it back up again. Vaccine McFry. Even though last year they made the promise, well, maybe I shouldn't use the word promise, because they were very careful with their language, as they do. So none of them actually stated it as a promise or as a guarantee or anything like that. But they made the statement many times that the only way we'll get back to normal is when we got the vaccine. You know, if you want to stop having to wear masks and stop social distancing and all that restricted stuff, then you got to have the vaccine. Now there's not only one vaccine here. Now there's at least 3, I think, currently rolling out in the UK. But you still got to wear masks. You still got to social distance. We're still going to have full-on lockdowns, most likely a national lockdown. There's so many areas in at least tier 4 now already. It is a national lockdown. Yeah, so maybe now is the time to go out and start stocking up on your toilet roll again. It may be that time. Yeah, I think hopefully over this year it's helped people learn to be a bit more thoughtful in terms of making sure they've got that kind of, you know, basic stuff stocked away in their cupboard. I'm not suggesting you should go out and start panic buying, not at all. That doesn't really benefit you in the long run, and it serves the purpose of the propaganda spin, because they love to show the general public the panic, you know, the toilet roll panic. A few people have put up videos about this over the course of this year. Yeah, the toilet roll panic meme has been used a few times in the past, and the media know how to play that storyline quite well. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that you run out and start panic buying stuff, not at all. But, you know, check your stocks, rotate your tins as you should be doing. Yeah, make sure you got enough reserve stuff in there. And I would highly suggest as well, if you haven't already done this, consider what you would need and how you would cope if there was a blackout or rolling blackouts. And I'm not saying that as any kind of prediction or anything like that. I think I might have mentioned the other week that I think we may end up seeing internet outages in certain areas, certainly regional outages and things like that. And some of the platforms have been experiencing difficulties. But it just, you know, to put that out there, if you haven't thought about it, do you have a torch and things like that? You know, do you have just some of the basic things you'd need if there was no electricity, stuff like that? Yeah. We shall see how this continues to unfold and progress. Let me find the music track I want to play, because I've got the wrong page on there. That one. Need the link off that one, please. Let me just pause. Sorry, I'm just jabbering to fill up the dead air while I'm multitasking and clicking on buttons and doing all that kind of stuff that you do to make this internet thing go. Right, pause. Rewind. Screen share. I'm going to play a song. This is from Ridiculizer. And hopefully it all comes through good. I'll put the link in the side chat while we're listening so you can go and check it out for yourself. Please do. And check out all these other songs as well. Yeah, I'll shut up and press play.
I believe in fairy tales. I believe what I'm told. When the newsprint's in bold, just get to look at the proof, to speak my own truth. They come to my own conclusions. Isolated every day as I drag myself to a job I hate. I'm a calcified lethargic, born of this day. I better hurry up, man, I can't be late. I can't pause for a fish, or even have a laugh, but the job's worth feeling. Of my spotty teenage gaffer on a power tip. Who needs to make the number skip? The man you know, my face just doesn't fit into his courtesy. And in a very short time, my home is out on the no line with the rest of you. What the fuck am I gonna do? My head's up my ass and I know my life's a farce. It's a fear porn, it's a fear porn, it's fear porn, come on. It keeps the cheese and the maize and the rats and the race and us peasants in the days like Edmund Bundy's. It's a fear porn. Come on. As I'm putting a ducker's cock for authentication, take the pills all day, log into my station. Toilet and awake, I'll keep my head down all day for a minimum pay. And when the shit has the fan, I'll duck and look the other way. It's a fear porn, it's a fear porn, it's fear porn, come on. It keeps the cheese and the maze and the rats and the race and us peasants in the days like Edward Blaze. It's a fear bomb. I keep on. See through the fear bomb. 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 I believe in fairy tales. I believe in fairy tales. I believe in fairy tales.
Yeah, it helps if you unmute yourself on both your microphone and the broadcast software. Sorry, folks. Yeah, hopefully you get the message from that. Yeah, I love the lyrics in that. I think it's a brilliant song. As I said, I put the link in the side chat. It's from Ridiculizer. The song itself's called Fear Porn. You may have got that from the chorus section. But yeah, it's a lot of this manipulative psychology, which the system has been very good at utilising, and certainly here in the UK, it's now become part of the state system, because members of what is called the SAGE team, which is the Scientific Advisory Group. What's the E stand for? Is it something experts? You know, a scientific advisory group that is tasked to help the government decide how they're going to craft and implement policy. And a lot of the members of that SAGE group are not virologists or epidemiologists or medical scientists, doctors, etc., etc. They're sociology and psychology and psychiatric experts. They're people with a knowledge base that is concerned with how to manipulate and influence people. Marketeers like Bernays, Edward Bernays, who, you know, the supposed father of marketing, you know, propaganda, the alleged modern version of it, yeah, rather than just the same old stuff that they've been doing for centuries. It's just they've got better and better at it. And now that they've got a mass media system rolled out around the world, then yeah, we end up with these hyper specialized experts, I call them that, yeah, rather than saying anything else ruder than that, yeah. Not that I'm stopping myself from swearing, it's just that I could end up just in a diatribe of like, ah!
Evening, Cookie. So I thought I'd say hello. I just wanted to say I've put a link in the private chat there and also sent it to Taz. If you click on that link, if you can put it in the main chat as well. If you're in the UK, it's more for if you're in the UK, not overseas. But it just tells you really what the if you put your postcode in. Obviously, I'm not going to do it live, but you put your postcode in, run it. It'll tell you exactly how many people have died, and you will be shocked at the size of the number. as in
Tez,
the small size of the number.
thanks, Tez. Tez has put it in side
Yeah.
chat for people. I was just trying to sort
Someone
out.
sent me that the other day, and I was just I put my
Screen
postcode
sharing.
in and thought, yeah, they're the right figures, but this is a website. It's a government website as well, so it's being used. This is used for people who are doing, research, things like that, looking at the
It's
community.
official.
Yes, it's an official site. Yes, so just go and put your postcode in and see what I'm saying here. This is the
Oh.
lie being sold to us, through the media, which is the big, lying machine. That's what needs dismantling or bringing, or at least bringing into, account, because they don't report any of this. Like I say, you just go and look at it yourself.
I think we are getting to the stage now where the media has proved that they are choosing to be complicit. They're far beyond the stage of them being able to sort of like, we've realised, folk, we've done a little investigative piece, and we've realised that we've been telling you a whole pack of bullshit for an entire year. They ain't going to do that now.
Yeah.
For the main platforms, I mean, anyway, I know there are some journalists out there that are trying, that are, sticking to their guns of trying to get ideas at least across to people, if not outright information. But I'm thinking of people like Peter Hitchens. Even though I don't necessarily agree with the guy that much in the rest of his career, over this year he's been right on it, and he has still been. He's been able to keep his sort of his ability to be allowed to put out articles and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So that's great. It's just the media in general, they're not going to capitulate now, and they're just not. I think it comes back to the people need to make these decisions for themselves.
Yeah, and look at the information and work it out for themselves. That's the only way, and it's there in front of you. There's plenty of it. These are
the green colour. It's just like, yep, here we go with the Ebola
once
green.
Once you punch your postcode into that section, that tells you from the when was it from? From
March to November.
March to November 2020, England and Wales. I put my postcode in, and it was 5 deaths. So I'm not sure what other postcodes would reveal, but it wasn't as many as what they were saying in the local papers or the local media, saying that had the massive increase in this area and it was really high and everything else and whatever. And it's all propaganda, like I say, the testing, all based on the testing. So people aren't listening to what's being said to them. They're just running with the narrative of the mainstream hysteria. That's what needs to come down, or needs to change, because if that, people are still bloody looking at it, unfortunately, and still seeing the headlines and whatever. And now we're going into, as you said before, this tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, tier 7. How many mutant strains do you need? How many reinfections do you need? How many? It's getting just beyond a joke.
How many tears on your wedding cake?
Yeah.
I'm starting to think it is a little bit like that kind of wedding jealousy.
Yeah.
That some people get, their wedding cake had 5 tears on it. Oh, they think they're all that. Yeah.
And what are they going to make you do for the 6th and 7th tiers?
Yeah.
Someone said to me today, support Newcastle United. That's what they make you all do.
I think I know what tier. I think I know what tier 9 will be. Tier 9 is you got to lock yourself in your bathroom and just stick your head up your own bum to protect yourself from the virus. That'll be tier 9.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. And you mentioned, knowing and not believing, that sort of thing. And they shoot the messenger. That's something we've talked about for a long time, isn't it? With information.
Like the messenger.
Yeah, that's some people still do it. They still fall into that trap. It's information.
Their first go-to. It's their first go-to thing that they do whenever they know they can't counteract the information being presented.
Yeah.
It's like because I was looking for the quote earlier, because I know it's not the one that's supposedly attributed to Plato. It's a different one from somebody else. I can't recall who it was, but it goes along the lines of the ad hominem is the last resort of somebody who's lost a debate. Basically, when they know they've lost the debate, they stop trying to argue the point. This is a classic logical fallacy, the ad hominem fallacy. They stop trying to argue the point and instead just attack the person making the point. They attack the messenger rather than deal with the message.
Yeah. And if you do attacking people, that means your ideas are actually worthless.
Yeah. If you have to resort
to resort to that violence or that hitting, or
that was the quote I was trying to remember it was who said it. If you resort to violence, you've lost the argument.
Exactly, yeah.
And
it means your argument holds no truth, or it's not truthful enough, and it's too flawed in its thinking, and people react to that.
And what they're resorting to is vicarious violence. And I call it that way just to make the point that it's not them themselves that have to carry out the end result of their orders, but the end result of their orders is resulting in physical violence. So, for example, people being arrested by the police because they gave someone a hug. I saw that video a few days ago, a guy down at Speaker's Corner, and there was a woman talking, and there's a guy, I think he might have been a preacher, I'm not sure on that, but there's another guy there, and they start chatting, and he says to the woman, "Can I give you a hug?" And she says yes. She, for totally, both of them consensual, nothing to do with anyone else. But the police had been arguing with her about something, and they then go after him and arrest him for hugging her in a public place. And it's like, what? Not only are they at Speaker's Corner, where you would expect, there's supposed to be some supposed freedom, but the two of them hug in public and he gets arrested for some kind of infraction. What the hell?
Well, the police are there a lot. I mean, a day ago, there was squads of police up there. There's videos up there. Subject Access has put stuff up. He put one up today, actually, from Piccadilly Circus. Looks like I've watched it without the volume, so I'm not sure what went on there. I don't know if he got taken in or he was released at the end, because I didn't hear the volume. I was just playing it early on.
There was that one that I'll show this screenshot. Well, I've got my Firefox showing because I did pause it at this point because I thought they'd put together their usual kind of good collection of graphic. This is the UK column from today. They started broadcasting again as of today for the new year, so I tuned in for their show today. But this is just a list of all the things this is factual things that are going on at the moment in the UK.
Yeah.
And this is like, forget your dissonant debate about whether or not you are living in a police state now. You are living in a police state now in the UK. These are all things that are currently happening, things that are currently being enforced by the system here in the UK. And all these things equate to a police state. They're using the excuse of the medical reason why, but that doesn't cover all the things that they're doing. And as I think, most people are pretty much aware of the kind of stuff they're trying to enforce, the restrictions and whatever, don't make any sense in terms of dealing with an alleged illness, a pathogen. They just don't add up. It's like if you were really trying to deal with a pathogen, you wouldn't be doing some of the stuff that you're doing. But
when you read that out, it's scary, isn't it? What they've done in the last 9 months, 10 months.
Accelerated the process into a technocratic virtual dystopia, a virtual gulag, where you will require permission in one form or another to do pretty much anything. And I mean that literally, pretty much anything. You want to go down the shops, you've got to have the right kind of permission to be able to go out and do that kind of thing. Otherwise, you're expected to get it delivered so that you don't leave your home.
Well, they're
giving you the internet connection you need to do it, so they'll just tell you, no, you got to do it online.
Messing with your head again. Put you in that mental state anyway when you know you're just going to get on with your day, but knowing that if someone does approach you, you have to have that knowing to deal with it. Yeah.
And the other one I wanted to show, this was a link from Gary. I did get a chance to chat with him for a little bit. Again, folks, we've been saying this nearly half a year now, because of the curfew where he is in Spain. he can't stay in the internet cafe long enough to be able to come and join in on the shows because the internet cafes close early because of the curfew. But we had a chance to have a chat with him. He's doing okay. But yeah, he shared some links. One of them was this I don't know anything about the site it's on, but it's covering news from around, in Spain, I think. Well, this is in France, sorry. Headline: accomplished farmer prof thrown in psych hospital after questioning official COVID narrative. That's the headline. I don't know why newspapers have now got into this habit of just massively shortening words, and they'll use abbreviations and stuff. It's like text speak almost. It's like, why? It's a virtual space. You've got more than enough. It's not like you're saving print space on a newspaper to save money or what. Anyway, personal gripe. So, but just to get to the main point about the situation, this guy, Fortilan, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, accused the French Institute Pasteur, a private non-profit foundation that specializes in biology, microorganisms, contagious diseases and vaccination, of having fabricated the SARS-CoV-2 virus over several decades and been a party to its escape from the Wuhan P4 lab. So this is adding into the narrative, and I'm only saying that because I don't find there's enough good evidence to, prove it in any way. Classic problem again of vacuum of info. But this is part of that narrative about the illness, the alleged illness being altered. The way they, what do they call it? Adding abilities to it in a lab, basically. I forget the phrase now off the top of my head, but that narrative that it was altered in some fashion to make it do what it does, and was then, unbeknownst to the Chinese authorities, it was released from the Wuhan lab. And this guy being in France, and he's talking about a French institute, this connects into the Canadian connection as well, and the potential of how they set this whole thing up in the first place. They funded and enabled that lab to be built in Wuhan so that they could then transfer the research of this thing over there, because it was too risky researching it where it was in Canada because of the potentials of them getting told to stop because of how dangerous it was and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, sorry, I haven't put the link in, have I? I'm rattling away without thinking of remembering to do that. Sorry, Taz, I hadn't shared the link like we normally do. I don't know if Gary had put it somewhere so you could see it. Has that actually gone through? Yeah, cool. I was just wondering if YouTube was going to be hiding crap again. It's doing that a lot now. Messages just vanishing and not getting through to the receiver from the sender and things like that. It's one of the things about these platforms. We can only use them as long as we're able to use them, and please don't have an expectation that they're going to be there forever.
No, they never are they, Cookie?
No, or that you're going to be allowed to carry on in the way that you're accustomed to, or the way that's been useful for you, functional for you. No, they're going to fuck it up as much as they can for you. So I'd say this now as well. It's a good opportunity to add this in. I apologize in advance to any people that I may have encountered or interacted with on the Discord over the weekend. I did go and restart up my Discord account the other day because some of the people who knew Jeff wanted to have little get-togethers, a memorial ceremony for him, and they were doing it on Discord. So I started it up so I could go and join in with that. Obviously, I chatted with a few people while I was there, but I apologize in advance because whether or not I'm going to go back to using Discord, it's highly unlikely unless I really need to. If, as we're talking about things getting shut down and blocked and stuff like that, if I need to make use of other platforms, then I will. But I've been concentrating on YouTube deliberately because, to me, this is where their main sort of battleground is, in terms of the media exchange of information. So I didn't want to step away from this environment to another platform. But yeah, the likelihood of me using Discord, I don't know. It doesn't work well for me. I don't like it. I find it cumbersome. It's just not a friendly kind of bit of software to use, really. Anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd say that. I might use it occasionally, and I'll use it if I need to. But, apologies in advance if you think I'm going to start turning up regularly on Discord. I'm not. It's like, for me, it'd be like going back onto Facebook or something. It's just, do I have to? I'll avoid it if I can, because it's just, it is what it is, isn't it, at the moment? I know there was something else I had in my notes that I wanted to mention. Just as well, because on that kind of connection to Jeff C. The videos I uploaded recently, obviously one is a mirror of the video from Camille from Please Stop the Ride, making the suggestion that people could utilize some of the content that Jeff created and just add that hashtag, so that in this modern technocratic system that they've set up for us, that information will travel further. It will reach further because it's got that hashtag attached to it. That's not to, some people have suggested that's turning Jeff himself into a hashtag. It's not. Don't be silly. That's, again, their projection to try and create something turn it into a bad thing. It's not. All the idea is that the way the modern social media platforms work, utilizing hashtags is a really good way to make a message or a bit of information travel a bit further. There was that video, and then I uploaded the intro and the outro off his usual show. And none of the stuff on my channel is monetized by me. I'm not monetized. I'm not a YouTube partner or any of that kind of stuff. If there are any adverts on any of the videos on my channel, that's because YouTube has forced them onto there because somebody's made a copyright claim or something like that, and I've tried to appeal it and not won. So basically the choice is either take the video down, which I have done with quite a few videos over the years, or leave it there and they stick an advert on it for whoever it is that's claimed the copyright and whatever. As far as I know, they haven't done that yet with the ones I've re-uploaded, the intro and the outro. But if they are doing that kind of silliness, I might at some point take them down. But the main thing I wanted to mention is I only uploaded them there. So they're there for the people that were interested in what he was doing and appreciated his stuff. And it was to provide kind of like a bit of comfort for people to, not forget him, sort of pay a homage to him he wasn't just about the talking stuff. He was a musician. He was good at writing music as well. So, I thought it was worthwhile just to upload them like that. But you have a look through the comments there and you see just how much support he had. There's nothing to do with him being a celebrity. It's just that people appreciated what he did. So don't believe the bullshit and the hype that's being thrown around constantly at the moment is basically the message. And if you feel inclined to re-upload some of his stuff or some clips of what he did or whatever, that's your choice. People do what they choose to do. And I think that was pretty much all I had in my notes, apart from the last bit, which just says onwards and upwards. Sorry.
Onwards and I like that one. I like that one, Cookie. Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. Well,
yeah.
I thought it was highly appropriate being the first show of this year of 2021. I just got the impression, in a way, this is meant to be a little bit like a metaphor or analogy, this year is the year of housework. And it just occurred to me because one of my relatives mentioned, like, they're stuck at home, so they're just getting on with some housework. And it made me think, how many people have been doing that now? Over the last few months, it's sort of like a lot of people, their homes must be absolutely spotless, like, because it's like, I can't go out again, I can't go to work, what shall I do? Oh, do some more housework. Yeah. So is this year the year of housework? And at the same time, in that kind of metaphor or analogy, maybe the housework involves sweeping away some of the bullshit. If last year was the year of revelations, the 2020 vision and all that kind of stuff, as some people have, given it the kind of, an acronym of the year of revelation and whatever, then once you've realized where the biggest pile of bullshit is, then what you usually do, you assess how long is it going to take you, and then you get your shovel and your broom out and you start actually clearing it up. So maybe you could say I'm just being overly optimistic. But this year is a year of housework. Maybe it's time to start clearing away all that bullshit, all those long-held dissonant beliefs in externalized authority infrastructures and figures and icons that just redirect you away from developing your own ability to think through these questions and ideas and information for yourself and make your own choices based on your own risk assessments. That's up to you how you approach reality in that respect. Housework. You're going to need a really big broom.
It's all gonna, it's gonna be, as we go forward. We're only just 4 days in. We've got the 6th of 2 days time, the 6th of January.
Yep.
The day that apparently people are going to go to DC.
Well, I did see an announcement from. Oh, I've just seen your message, Taz. Breaking news from the British Broadcasting Corporation. New lockdown for England has cases surged. The PM has announced a new England lockdown.
Hey.
So, I think
what a surprise. Well, Wales have been in that situation for weeks now, so it's,
I think it would be a little bit inaccurate for me to try and claim that I predicted that like hour and a half ago. The last news I saw from Bojo was him talking about that, it's going to be tough, folks, and that just made me think so. He said, right, yep, he's letting everyone know we're going to be in a lockdown. But I just saw this latest news bulletin announcement from Trump, which I thought it must have been really important, like, for what is about to go on. So there he is making his latest announcement.
Being shrunk.
So my childish sense of humor, that just I laughed at that, laughed out loud at that one. That was like classic.
So they just throw him in a wheelie bin and wheel him out, will they? The White House in a few weeks' time if he still refuses to,
I just put him in your pocket.
We shall see. It's a few days to go, and if all these things are going to come out, they'll come out within the next few days, won't they? If people are going to gather, but we'll keep an eye on it because it's on Wednesday when we do the reality chat. So it's the same. It's a bit maybe early. I'm not sure what the time difference is with Washington. UK, 6 hours is it or something?
If Gary's probably sent you the link, or he's probably put it.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Blog site he found where he said they were doing a really good listing of all the different protests in different places, so we can go over that on Wednesday as well.
We'll have a look into that. But it's all going to apparently change in the next few weeks. People are going to find out the truth. I laugh because I'm just thinking some people are really getting carried away, but you just got to keep your feet on the ground and be balanced, centered and grounded really in all of this shit, and keep your head on,
and don't trip over unrealistic expectations or aspirations. In other words, and I know I've said this so many times over the years in different ways, but to try and make the same point, don't beat yourself up because you're not Gandhi. You know, if you're not able to do all the utmost stuff, you know, it's like the being self-sufficient kind of thing. Don't think you've failed unless you're living up on a mountain and, you know, doing everything for yourself. So yeah, it's great if people can do that, but that's not going to be the answer for everyone. And I don't think it's really practical as we move forward that everyone would be living that way. You know, we still need an ability to be able to be living in a shared environment because we are sharing this environment. So we can't all be hermit, self-sufficient, you know, isolationists to try and, you know, escape the apocalypse or some stuff like that. You know, it's not going to work that way. Be as self-sufficient as you can. Even the smallest changes can make a difference. You know, even things as simple as like we've talked about before. You know, if a business refuses to trade with you because they demand that you wear a face covering or whatever, then just don't shop there anymore. Take your business somewhere else, unless you really absolutely cannot get that stuff anywhere else. So therefore you have to go to that shop. You know, it's all the usual kind of caveats, but just use some common sense. You know, stop supporting the people, the businesses, the institutions that are supporting this scam, because that's how they're perpetuating everything. They don't have the physical manpower or the physical power, full stop, to force everybody to actually go along with this. So they're reliant on psychological control, psychological influence.
Well,
which
a war
is why,
on
sorry,
you.
let me just add this. This is why they're so obsessed with influencers in this environment. It's an information battle before it becomes a physical battle. So at the moment, they are absolutely concentrated at 77th Brigade. That's why they're concentrated on dealing with people like us on the social media. Yeah, it's all about stopping the information being shared and getting around so that people are influenced by what they find out.
Yeah, mind, body, spirit, the war on you. It's been on us for a long time now. People are not just beginning to see that more and more because of all this shit. And I'm glad that I mentioned it months ago, you know, wake more people up. You know, that's the idea of how we're moving forward and our rising in consciousness. We need to, this stuff is coming out and things are going to get more revealing as we go forward. And this year has woken an awful lot of people up. It'll continue to, but it is a constant war on us, on your mind, your body, and your spirit. You know, you, the individual, getting to manipulate you, put you in states of fear, which is just emotional states, trying to manipulate you continually. And you know, experience. You know, your own knowing. You know, you move back into yourself, know who you are, and you know that's where they can't get you. You know, because again, you know who you are. You understand the very simple word of saying no and questioning things. More people are getting that way.
Let me just flick across. Yeah. See these reports. You find lots of these, and this was actually in the Daily Mail now. Yeah.
Oh well,
date on it
daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, headline.
Thanks to T again for sharing this. So these reports,
I saw this today. Yeah, I saw this myself.
They're popping up all over the world, wherever the you know injections are being rolled out. So I think a lot of people are aware enough to, you know, so many people are turning around and saying, no, I don't want it. No, we don't want it. You know, if they're talking for their family or whatever, you know, for their children. Yeah, people are aware of this stuff. It's obviously how do you move beyond the situation we're in without it descending into Mad Max? Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Seems that's where they want to take us.
Yeah.
Which we're not going that direction.
Which is why for me it really absolutely becomes about that information war.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't mean in the cheesy kind of Alex Jones sense. Yeah. making the frogs gay and all that kind of stuff, which is unfortunately a reality. It's just that he cartoonified it to such a degree that it gets ridiculed in the mainstream. Yeah, that was his job, to create the clown effect so that the mainstream could ridicule the information such that the general public would just turn away from it and ignore it. They have been saturating the environment with chemicals such that it has actually affected the evolution or the growth of amphibians, such that, yeah, it's a simplification, but they are turning the frogs gay. Yeah, so
just when you mentioned simplification there, and when you were talking about your personal gripe earlier about the abbreviated words, I think that's part of a orchestrated sort of dumbing down in the press. You know, like poorly worded, you know, the bad grammar, poorly edited pieces that are just thrown together. Honestly, I think that's part of a deliberate, systematic dumbing down process in the media.
Yeah, and it puts people off as well. You know, it's like they're trying to make the actual content of any genuine information either so watered down that basically people can't really define any good knowledge out of the information they're presented with.
It's like the newspeak and Orwellian newspeak.
Yeah. Or it's presented in such a way where it's such convoluted, meaningless language. You know, they use empty phrases or stuff that is so ambiguous that basically they're saying nothing. You know, it's like, I'm nearly certain. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, mate. You're either certain or you're not certain. You can't be nearly certain. You know, it's like the classic kind of legalese crap that they put in their threat letters, where you may receive a fine, you might be required to do something. Yeah? So kind of ambiguous language that basically means they can fill an entire article with words but not actually say anything.
They were mostly peaceful.
Yeah. What was the other one about going back a few years with all the terror campaign in the Middle East? Moderate terrorists, yeah? Moderate militants. It's like, hang on, so they're moderately killing people. How does that work? Yeah, this is the kind of language games that they play. And you're right, it stunts people's thinking. The more they do it, when it's year after year, and when it's included now, it's basically been absorbed into the educational system. It's now emanating onto mainstream news, where you would think journalists would have more of a care and concern and knowledge about the use of language in that regard. It's something that Orwell himself was pointing at in 1984. Well, in the book, as it were, not in the year. Yeah, you think they'd be more aware of that, but they just seem to be like, who cares? We just put jibber. They'll still buy it. Yeah.
But we're talking like repetition. That's something like Gary was speaking about, like the Frankfurt School. It was key to how they were structured, and repetition is a key to the trauma-based mind control that we see in society at the moment.
It reinforces, and the effect of the repetition drives it deeper into the consciousness, until in the end they're speaking almost directly to the unconscious or subconscious. I just want to play. I'm only going to play just a tiny little clip of this song. I'll put the link in the chat in a sec.
Cool.
But I thought I'd been listening back through my playlist. I've got a playlist of music on my channel where I had what I consider, what I call conscious music that has something in the lyrics or in the message or in the way it's presented that, help get information out to people. Anyway, this one, and the title's called Bigger, Better, Brighter. Just listen to this first bit.
said no.
It's just that phrase. It stood out to me when I was listening back to it. It's like I could imagine Bojo singing that at the moment. Yeah, build back better, bigger, brighter bullshit now. There's something about the triple B. What is it about the triple B? I know I get the psychological effect of the triumvirate in the sense of they repeat something 3 times. Yeah, so it's a bit kind of like the magic phrases. You know, you repeat the words 3 times to get the magic effect. And that's why they do things like the hands face space and the build back better. Let me just grab the link for this.
Now then.
In the chat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, use words cast spells, don't they?
Yep.
So words are energy, so use them wisely.
It's quite a good little song, that if people haven't heard it before, from a group called Seize the Day. I don't want to play it simply because I'm not sure about copyright. I know there's somewhat of an independent band, but I don't know if there's any labels that claim this particular music. So go and listen to it there on that link. Yeah, I prefer it when people do that anyway. You know, go follow the provenance of the information. Yeah, as long as I remember to give the link in the chat room, of course. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I get distracted or too busy yakking.
Yeah, this is a good quote from Manly P. Hall. The individual absorbs knowledge, but the truth absorbs the individual.
Yeah.
Right,
It's a little bit almost a paradox. It's not really a paradox, but it describes a paradox. As in, I think it's probably true for the majority of us, maybe not 100%, but for the majority of people, we go seeking the truth outside of ourselves.
yes.
We go looking for the truth as if it's a thing existing somewhere else. Whereas really, the foundational truths that you need are inside, are in and of yourself. You know, you can find them through introspection and meditation. You don't need to go outside of yourself. And he's describing the same kind of thing, I feel.
It's all in you, isn't it? It's all you.
Yeah.
It's all the knowledge and information is in you already. And it's just knowing how to, well, we've been born generation after generation, being dumbed down, like you said, Days. You know, it's been that constant repetition shit, being fed to our parents, their parents, and, you know, us. And, you know, as we go through the generations.
Do you think I'd get away with it? Hang on. So
they hide all that away from you, basically. You know, all that true stuff about
you see it through a lot of different aspects of society. You know, like through the art, the music, the media, all sorts. You know,
I'm not sure if I'd get away with it, Groove Dodger. I just saw you post that in the chat, playing the Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt song. Maybe maybe that's the thing. I might not get away with playing the original version of it, but I can sit here and sing a couple of bars of it because, you know, the lyrics are easy enough. Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt. He's a fucking cunt. He's a fucking cunt. Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt. He's a fucking cunt. Yes, he's a fucking cunt. There you go. Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt.
Nice one.
I thought it was great that they got into the charts over Christmas.
Yeah, I believe it went to Ty's number 2, didn't it? Someone said to me.
I'm not sure.
True. I never looked at it. I don't know.
I didn't check either. It was either number 2 or number 5.
I think the last time I looked at the charts was in 1980 sometime. I think it was. Yeah, I just don't bother with that shite.
Thanks to everyone joining in the chat. We'll be wrapping it up in a little bit. Hello to everyone. If you're a new subscriber, if you have happened to join because of all the stuff that happened recently and you've seen my video and whatever, because I know there was quite a few views on that video now. I apologize to people for not having replied to all the comments under those videos, because I couldn't. I was too emotionally fatigued from constantly going over the situation, and also it was like I felt it was more appropriate to just click like and heart all the comments, all the good comments that were coming through. So thank you all for listening to that and at least giving it some thought and consideration. But if you are a new subscriber or you're new to watching these live broadcasts, it's not exactly the same as the kind of stuff Jeff used to do. But I certainly, I'm attempting to work on the same kind of body of knowledge that he was also approaching things from. I don't necessarily, basically, I don't do it in his style, but we were talking about the same kind of arguments, making the same points. We just did it in different ways, So thank you for tuning in and subscribing if you have, based on that previous video. But be aware that this is primarily me doing this channel with the help of friends. It's not the same kind of presentation that Jeff did. I think it's good that we have a variance and people approach these questions from their way of doing it. It's good to have that kind of variance, and we need people in every realm. It's not just people creating content like this. I'm not trying to say that people repeat the same as what I do. Do it your way. Approach the situation in the way you choose to. And in the same sense of, just because I do this kind of stuff on YouTube, just because Jeff did his stuff the way he did it, doesn't mean that's what you have to repeat as well. We need people approaching these questions and approaching the situation in every different realm. So, the equivalent of, if you like designing artwork, produce artwork that conveys a message to the public. If you like writing music, do that. If you like talking to people, then talk to people. All walks of life, we need this to carry through. So, there is, I think, this huge day is giving us a little bit of echo.
Oh, I'll turn my mic off and I'm not talking.
So I know it wasn't a lot. I guess it must be coming through to the YouTube as well. But yeah, that was, I don't know how else to say it or what else to say on the situation, really. As I said right near the start, it's ongoing. We'll see how things go. And for me, and I think Jeff would have agreed with this, I don't want to speak directly for him, really. I can't exactly do that, and he isn't here to speak for himself. So, but I don't think he would have wanted everything to sort of grind to a halt and whatever. His main concern was getting information across to people and helping people, in that cheesy, cliched way of saying it, wake up. You better wake your ass up, folks. Yeah, I know there's a few people out there that try and refute or debunk, disprove in some fashion that kind of argument or idea or way of approaching things, but I totally disagree with them. They're entitled to their point of view, but I disagree. I think it is still vitally important that we carry on doing this kind of thing of trying to wake people up. Yeah, it doesn't mean we're giving them all the answers. We're just trying to shake the slumber off them. Yeah. In one way or another. There's different approaches that work for different people, but when it comes down to it, it's like, if you carry on just sitting ignoring this stuff, it's gonna gobble you up. And when it's finished with you, it's going to be coming for the rest of us. We all need to stand together on this.
Yeah, absolutely, Cookie. Yeah, it's a war on us, like I say, and in war conditions, you have to, stand up and, be strong and, keep moving forward, because it is a continual attack.
Yeah, it's been going forever, for time immemorial.
Yeah,
there has been a small number of people who try to take control of everything and guard all the information, all the knowledge, all the resources for themselves, and then there's the rest of us. Yeah, and if we don't keep this fire going, keep this fire alive, then they will quench it. They will isolate it in their new paradigm of, oh, you can't go out into the real world and be normal. No. You got to keep yourself hidden away, closeted away, isolated. No, we've got to keep this fire going, keep this fire alive, and keep handing people torches.
Yeah. And it will. And we're in our 10th year this year. Actually, 2011 I started doing stuff, so it's my 10th year of doing stuff off and on various things on the internet. So yeah.
We did discuss about how maybe it'd be worth covering some other subjects, some different subjects than we often normally do. What's normal? But for years I felt it was needed to keep pointing at a lot of the media information and how media was being used, how they apply psychological manipulation, the influences of the different power groups like the occult groups and the secret governments and the shadow government and whatever. For me, I still felt it was very important to try and help people see through that facade, the illusion of the way the system hides itself from any blame or culpability and whatever, disguises itself. But now we've got to this situation where we are now, like I showed the clip of the UK column earlier, we are now living in a police state. It's no longer needed for me to sit here and say to people, hey folks, if you keep going that direction, you're going to end up in a police state. It's like, oh, we're in a police state. Okay. So what else would be useful or helpful to you now, considering this is where we've all arrived at, So I know these are subjects I have covered in the past, but for me, for the last few years, certainly the primary thing that I'd been concentrated on was like that media and psychological manipulation element, manipulation of language and things like that. But I want to go back and cover some of the subjects I covered years ago about things like being self-sufficient outside of the system. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to give you gardening tips or whatever. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean the reality that if you go and look for information to do with how to live in that fashion, you will actually find that there is a wealth of knowledge and information out there already, and it's been there all along. It's just that most people prefer the convenience and comforts provided by the status quo of the matrix system. So in that, now the matrix is turning around and demanding its pound of flesh for you to be allowed to stay within its walls. So given that situation, obviously a lot more people are choosing to do something else.
That is a problem. That's the problem. Right. There's too many other followers that want to keep their head down in order to preserve kind of what they've got. But the ladder's getting pulled up with any so-called middle class or whatever that's disappearing as well. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they're trying to keep their head down out of cowardice, but they will shut the door, and that is the problem. They're trading in their morals and that for security. What they think is security, like temporary.
A false sense of security.
False sense of security.
Yeah. I can't remember the full quote properly. Is it Jefferson? I think those who trade their independence for a false sense of security will end up receiving neither. I got sorry, paraphrasing. Deserve neither. Sure. And now sort of, it's not like maybe it used to be a few decades ago where it's sort of like you're only losing a little bit of your freedom in exchange for all this convenience. No, now it's like you got to give it all up. You want to stay in their playground, in their circus game, then you've got to give up all your idea of property and independence and sovereignty and any of that kind of concept. No, all gone.
And it's like you were saying, like you were saying, like, how much can you point out, like, going forward? Like, there's a big case of conscious ignorance out there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
beginning to shift, though, I think, as well. I think that's happening. I think there are people who have surprised me, actually. Some people, even today, surprised me. I was like, wow, I can't believe you said that. We're living in a police state. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, see it all around you, as we've mentioned for months and months now, and years probably. If you think about what we talk about over the years, you know, we have lived in that state. It's just more evidence to you now. It's more in your face. It's just moved up a notch, and you can now see it clearly. And you know, I think more people are seeing that and reacting to that in the right way, not in a, you know, not to want to go out and cause trouble or anything like that, because that's what they want. They want us out there angry, and they want the cops to go in and do all this, you know, to create more fear and manipulate you further, and then keep pumping out the COVID fear, you know, continually, you know, and it just keeps going in a loop like that with people until it actually starts to drop with people. And this year, I think, you know, more than ever, is 2021 is going to be that year where, you know, that starts to make its mark, and people who haven't had a voice in the background, maybe even in the doctor or medical stuff, they'll start to be given that voice, and people will start listening to that, and then there will be a big pushback, a huge pushback, and then we'll see the consequences of what they've done to us over the past year nearly now, or longer, because I think springtime is going to be quite pivotal. You know, in a sense, you know, we're in the dark winter now, aren't we? A dark winter.
Do you think a lot of people take the vaccine initially?
Yeah, but it's moving out of there now. We've gone past the the solstice. We've gone past that point, and now we're moving into the little bit sunlight coming, you know, a little bit of light coming back just gradually. But yeah, as we move further into the spring equinox, and you know that I think we'll see leading up to that. And even in the next week or so, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next couple of days. You know, with this event happening in the US, you know, with Washington, D.C., and this big gathering of folk. I'm not sure. So we'll see how the momentum goes from now on. You know, we're in the first week of the new year. So, you know, let's see how we roll.
When you mentioned about the doctors and nurses and things like that, as far as I know, she wasn't a doctor or nurse, but it just called to memory another example, a recent example, something that we've seen a few times now over the course of the year, of people taking video footage of empty hospitals. And then there was this recent one recently, a woman took a video clip of it was like echo empty. She was walking down the corridor, you know, all you could hear in every direction was just her footsteps echoing. Yeah, it was
silent,
empty. Yeah, and she then got arrested, and the police came to her home. I think it must have been early morning. They were still in bed, so basically she was like half dressed, and they're there with the copper at the top of the stairs, like waiting for her to get dressed in a bedroom so he could arrest her, just because she took some video footage of an empty hospital, a proof that the hospitals are not overflowing. You know, this is, I just thought, you know, to add it in as another example of that evidence that's coming out now. There are some doctors and nurses, medical workers that are speaking out. There are some that are grouping together and saying, we're not having the jab, thank you very much, no thank you. But obviously that's not getting through most of the media, but it's there, and more people, like the general populace, is becoming more aware of it now because they know someone who knows someone or something like that. They've now got a more direct personal reference, so it's no longer just some crazy conspiracy theorist on the internet saying it. No, they've heard somebody within their own circle say this kind of stuff to them. That's, again, to me, it may be anecdotal, but it's more anecdotal evidence, evidential proof that this thing is emanating the way we are describing it. It's not just fantasy fiction, folks, to make clickbait entertainment shit. No, fuck you if you think that. This is real. This is having a real effect on people. People are being... I don't want to start ranting, but yeah, you know the situation.
Yes, yeah, I do, Cookie. Yeah.
This is now coming home. The monster has come home, and it wants its pound of flesh. You know, that's the dragon sat out just outside the village, saying, "Well, where's my virgin? Come on, see, it's time. You got to, bring out your virgins. I'm hungry."
Wonder what law she was arrested under for taking the video.
Probably some form of civil, breach of the peace or something like that. They'd probably do it for, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it comes under these new supposed COVID regulations.
Because they're not laws, are they? They're, just regulations.
Yeah.
So they get arrested.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll never get charged and you won't hear about that. It's just the pushing the fear side of it, being arrested like that.
All right. Well, let's leave it at that for this week. We've just gone past the hour.
Cheers, Cookie. Thank you. And everyone in the chat as well. Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
And girls.
Thanks for joining in. And thanks for the music as well, Days.
Nice one. Cheers. Thanks for playing it, Cookie. Nice one. Cheers.
I want to try and play at least one music track per week if I can.
Cool.
And hopefully mix it up a bit. Obviously I've got to be a little bit careful with playing anything that's copyrighted, big label, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'm happy to play music as long as it fits in that kind of, please, I want subject matter or content to be connected to the kind of stuff we're doing, I'm not just going to play a song about how much you love kittens.
Yeah, you'll be hearing from the lawyers directly.
The check's in the post, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, send it via the PRS. You'll end up with the thugs for the music guild turning up at your door going, "Where's our cut? We want our percentage." Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining in. And we will see you again soon. We're back on Wednesday night on the 6th.
The 6th.
Yes. Yeah. It may very well be almost like a live report, allowing for the time difference between USA and us here. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time we're going at 8 p.m. GMT, folks, on the Reality Chat channel, which Peter hosts, we do the Reality Chat. So 8 p.m. that would be 3 p.m. Eastern. So what would that be? Washington. That'd be another 2 or 3 hours added onto that. So about midday. I think in DC, maybe. I'm guesstimating. I can't remember exactly the time zone, the amount of time zones between East Coast and DC on the other side. But yeah,
might be a bit early, but yeah, we'll see what's going on anyway. At least we'll check it out.
We'll be back, as I say, on the Wednesday night with the Reality Chat, 8 p.m. GMT. Thanks to Taz, put the link in the chat box. And Steve Tagoose will be on with the Mystery Show on Thursday night on his channel, again at 8 p.m. GMT. And yeah, we'll see what happens on the 6th, whether it's all a big, what do you call it, a big squib. Yeah,
yeah, one of them.
Will it be a big event or will it be a damp squib? As we say in this, just slang from the UK, talking about, if it was just a kind of a flop, damn squib. There you go. Thanks to whoever it was who put it in the box, in the chat box. Benjamin Franklin, not Jefferson. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And just as a side note, you mentioned a quote from Manly P. Hall earlier, and now just covered this quote from old Benny F. Benny F was in the club. He was a brother of the craft. And a lot of the whole situation around the American Revolution and the supposed change of the age, all connected to those people. And so was Manly P. Hall, of course. But they're all those little people working away in those shadows. Anyway, a separate digression. Thanks again, folks, for joining in. Don't believe all the hype. Don't let them subdue your fire. Keep singing, keep dancing, and we will see you again soon. Thanks, guys. cat cheese. I'm going to click the button.